Have you ever seen it? The look in a student's eyes when the spark has gone out. They can memorize the facts, they can pass the test. But there's a gap, a frustrating distance between knowing something and truly owning it, between accumulating knowledge and having the confidence to use it. This is one of the most common hurdles in education. We create students who are excellent passengers in their own learning, terrified to take the wheel. They become passive consumers of information, waiting for the next instruction, the next chapter, the next answer. But what if we could build a different kind of learner? Someone who isn't just a passenger, but the pilot of their own education. What if we had a framework designed not to teach a subject, but to teach the art of learning itself? Answering that question requires moving beyond individual tactics and toward an integrated system. Educators have developed various approaches to this challenge. But let's explore one of the most comprehensive, the autonomous learner framework. It's not a single idea, but a structure that combines proven educational methods into a cohesive system, built on 3 essential pillars. The first and the core of the system is the metacognitive foundation. Metacognition is a jargony term, but the idea is straightforward. It means thinking about your own thinking. It's the decision to stop running on autopilot and start steering the ship. This approach embeds a simple, recurring cycle into every activity: plan, monitor, and evaluate. What does that look like? Imagine a student is assigned a difficult text. Instead of diving in, they plan. They'd select a strategy, perhaps previewing headings and brainstorming vocabulary. They're asking, what is my game plan here? Then, as they read, they monitor their understanding. If they hit a confusing paragraph, the old way was to push through and hope it makes sense later. With this approach, they stop and ask, am I getting this? Is my strategy working, or should I switch to another one, like rereading or looking up a key term? And crucially, after they're done, they evaluate. They take 60 seconds to reflect. What was the hardest part of that reading? What strategy worked best? What will I do the next time I face a text like this? This isn't complicated, but it is a radical shift. It turns the abstract process of learning into a concrete set of tools they can use for the rest of their life. Having a toolkit is one thing, you need a project to use it on. That's the second pillar, practical, hands-on methodologies. Metacognition thrives in environments where students solve problems. So the framework uses methods like task-based language teaching, or TBLT. The principle of TBLT is to reverse the traditional learning sequence. Instead of learning grammar rules and then using them in a controlled exercise, the task itself is the focus. The need to complete the task drives the need to learn the language. For instance, a classic example is asking students to plan a group trip. This prompt requires them to negotiate destinations, persuade friends, debate budgets, and explain their reasoning all in the target language. It is a real-world simulation that makes language necessary, not just an assignment. This idea is scaled up with project-based learning, or PBL. PBL takes the task-based concept and expands it into an in-depth investigation of a complex question. The key difference is that PBL results in a tangible product shared with a real audience. For example, a team might be tasked with creating a podcast episode about a local historical event. Suddenly, they have to do research, write a script, conduct interviews, and work as a team. The desire to make a great podcast for their community becomes the engine that drives language acquisition. Finally, the third pillar addresses a critical factor: the learning environment. Learners are not robots. The framework creates a supportive and motivating environment. It does this in 2 ways. First, through an approach called Content and Language Integrated Learning, or CLIL. The logic of CLIL is to shift the student's focus. It proposes that a language is learned most effectively when used as a medium to learn something else interesting. It makes the language a tool for discovery, not just a subject to be studied. Imagine a science class on ecosystems taught in Spanish, or a history class on the Roman Empire taught in English. The motivation shifts from, I have to learn these grammar rules, to I want to understand this topic, and English is the tool that lets me do it. Second, the framework integrates social-emotional learning, or CEL. CEL is the development of the mindsets and skills needed to navigate the human side of learning. It's a toolbox for collaboration and resilience, acknowledging that emotions are not a distraction from learning, but an integral part of it. In practice, this could be a debrief after a group project. The students don't just evaluate the final product, they evaluate their teamwork, reflecting on questions like, how did we handle that disagreement? How could we have given feedback more constructively? This isn't about being soft, it is about being effective. Here, the pieces of the framework lock into place. The CLIL approach provides the context. Students aren't studying English grammar. They are engaged in local history and environmental science. This provides the authentic need for the target language. They have to use past tense narration and causal language. This led to, or, as a result of, to explain the impacts. The project-based learning structure drives skill development. The need to create a high-quality podcast for a real audience forces them to conduct research, write scripts, and use persuasive storytelling. It makes the 4 skills reading, writing, listening, and speaking interdependent and necessary. From day one, the metacognitive cycle is crucial. During the planning phase, the team breaks down the project, what research is needed, who will they interview, who will script, and who will edit. They create a timeline and assign roles. As they work, they constantly monitor. An interview might fall through. Research might reveal conflicting information. They regroup and problem solve, asking, is our plan working? Are we effectively using the language needed to meet the project's goals? And throughout, social-emotional learning is happening. Team members will have different creative ideas. One student might be anxious about an interview. The team learns to navigate disagreements and support each other. The teacher facilitates a final evaluation where they reflect not just on the podcast's quality, but on their collaborative process. That is the framework in action. A single, purposeful project where the methodology, the environment, and the metacognitive tools all work together in service of clear, meaningful learning goals. This integrated approach does more than teach a language or a subject. It develops self-sufficient, adaptable learners ready to take control. It moves education beyond memorization. It equips students with the cognitive tools, practical experience, and personal resilience for a lifetime of learning. The goal isn't to get the right answers. It is to build students who know how to ask the right questions. The student who was once a passive passenger now understands how to read the map, check the engine, and navigate through uncertainty. They learn a mistake isn't a failure, but valuable data. They learn that challenges are not roadblocks, but opportunities to try a new strategy. By giving students the tools to understand and direct their own learning, we do more than create better students. We create clearer thinkers, more collaborative problem solvers, and more resilient human beings. We are not filling a bucket, we are lighting a fire.